we think about goal setting from the perspective of possibility. So a lot of times when we talk about goal setting, we talk about goals from the perspective of what we know today and then what we are going to wanting to achieve based up on the skill set and the knowledge that we have. That is the wrong way to set goals. The objective of the proper goal setting is to first set a goal of a life you want to live and then reverse engineer this into the steps that are required to achieve that outcome. So I can say, and I'm going to give you an example so you know the difference. So a business owner or an employee would say, I am making $100,000 based on my knowledge that I know in the market. If I get a promotion, then I can get maybe to $110,000 next year. If I push it really hard, maybe to 120. A business owner says, well, if I'm making $100,000 right now, then I can probably grow my business incrementally 10%, 15%. What's a kind of a good growth rate? The idea for you today is to pick a goal or pick goals that are worthy of you. And what I mean by that is that the worthiness of your goal is not something that other people tell you that you can realistically achieve, but a worthy goal are goals that are designed for you to achieve your true potential, where you go, yeah, that I want. So the question I'm going to have to you, and I want you to put this in the chat. What did you come here for? Why are you on this planet, on this plane? What's your purpose? Did you come here to be mediocre, or did you come here to be great? Think about that. And this is really a lot of what we're doing today is really diving into some of these thought processes that will help you to identify what it really is that you want. So put it in the chat. Why are you here? Are you here to push it? Are you here to slay some dragons? Are you here to live a good life? Do you want to primarily take care of your family? Do you want to make an impact? Think about this. If you're laying under this tree and you hear the wind rustling and you look up in the sky and you think about the purpose of life, the purpose of why you're here, what is that about? Is it about impacting people? Is it about having information that you want to share? Is it that you simply want to make a great life for yourself? Is it that you want to be known for something? Is it that you want to achieve fame? What is it? And put it in the chat. I always like to see, or if you don't know, say, I don't know. Because sometimes that is the issue. We don't know how to set goals properly is because we are in this mindset of it's all very vague. You guys are awfully quiet here. So go ahead and tell me, what is it about for you in this lifetime? Is it about money, fame, family, or all of it? And now that we are in we're starting to get into this mindset of possibility. This is about me. I think you all know me. You know, I'm the growth architect. For those of you who have not heard from me, I have a podcast and I do a lot of business strategy, but I'll tell you about that in a little bit. I want to first get you in the proper mindset. The objective is not to have you do more of what you already know how to do, but to get you to a place when you are looking at your life and you have a story to tell. So Rick says, my purpose is literally to make good things happen for other people. That is his mission. Stephanie says, I want to make an impact on others while being extremely financially secure. So that's good. So that's where you start. So take a minute and just, write this down. If you don't want to share it, that's okay. But write this on a piece of paper. What is it about for you? As we're going into this, here's the checklist. No distractions. You set this time aside for you. This is the time where you are now thinking about your future that you want to create. There literally is nothing more important than this at this very moment. So there'll be time in this where it's not action-based, but where we are, this is a lot of thinking. This is a doing it as we speak. So at the end of the probably 90 minutes or so, you will have a very clear idea of what your goal is. Esteban said, to learn, love my family. Yes, I love that. To learn and create a lasting company. Nice. I like that. Very good. Make sure you're comfortable. So, you're not on camera, so you can be wherever you want to be. Create an environment that has a good vibration, a good energy for you, because this is not a business thing right now. This is you personally. We're going into your heart. And we're going to take a look at what is it that makes you tick, what resonates for you. Russell says, I'm ready to produce my photographic show that can be accessible and available for decades to come. Steve says, to lead and mentor people in successful organizations. So there we go. I like that a lot. The other piece I want you to think about today is the goal that you're going to be setting worthy of you? Because unless you came here to be mediocre, which I don't think any one of you is, then is the goal that we're going in and that we're designing worthy of you? It has to be a little bit scary. Otherwise, everybody would be doing it. So here's the format of how this works today. I'm going to ask you literally 5 different questions that will require you some thinking time. And then we're going to go in and designing your action plan on what we're going to be doing to put this in place. So first we're going deep, and then we're going to talk about execution implementation. So here's my first question for you. What will you be proud of when you're 80? This is the overarching idea of your life. What will people say when you're 80? Will they say, here's somebody who inspired, motivated, somebody who brought amazing visuals to people, somebody who changed the way organizations operate, think, helped hundreds of people in teams? What is it that you want to be proud of when you're 80? What are people going to say? There's an exercise, and while I'm talking, just go ahead and write this down and take your time writing this down. The more details, the better. There's an exercise in a lot of trauma discovery and resolution or I think they do that in Alcoholics Anonymous too, where they go to a cemetery and they look at the cemetery and they say, well, if this is your tombstone, imagine there's people around, and what would people be saying about you? So this is an exercise relatively similar to that. This is like, what are you going to be known for? What is it that we are going to be proud. Esteban shared that he's a good man. So it can be that simple. Be a good man, a good family man, somebody who was loved and appreciated. So think about that. What are some of these things that people are going to be saying about you as you are 80 years old? Imagine the scenario, people standing, talking about Pat, Kelly, Rick, Russell, Catherine, Esteban. It's like, what is it about you? Shahira, Stephanie, what is it about you that is amazing? A good person, made people laugh, told the most inappropriate jokes, helped hundreds of people, made people look good, feel good, brought education to the world, made difficult things easy. What are some of the things that you want to be known for? And if you're up for it, please do share. Rick says that I helped people become all they could be. Yes, maximizing people's abilities. I think that's beautiful. Kelly says that I am a kind person. Yes, I love that. Anyone else wants to share? Asia, that was an excellent mother. I love that. Stephanie, making a difference in people's lives. Yes, exactly. So this is really about, as you look at these are really very emotionally driven things, right? This is all about how you made other people feel. So is anyone here who needs a little bit more time, or are you guys good to move on? Esteban said, he and a group of people built a great company. I love that. Yes, very good. Empowering people to succeed. Yes, there you go. So when you look at these statements, you see that they are relatively non-specific, that these are relating to a feeling that you are creating for someone else, that your life comes to life through the eyes of someone else, that they look at you and they have that feeling, that sense that you did something for other people. And now what we're going to do, I'm going to challenge you now to look at, with this in mind, empowering people to succeed, built a great company, made a difference in people's lives, was an excellent mother, and all the things that you wrote down. What's the biggest goal you can set? So let's stay with the example that I gave earlier. So if we said there was $100,000, and now you say, well, over the course of my career, I was able to bring myself to maybe make $350,000. Is that the biggest you can think about? It has to be a hairy goal. What is the biggest goal you can set? So if, Russell talked about an exhibit, well, is one exhibit or one show the biggest you can think of? Or is it 10? What's the biggest you can make this? So if you say you're impacting people and people say you impacted people, you made people's lives better. Well, is that 1 million people? Is that 1,000 people? So let's go into that and say, in addition to being a good parent, friend, or partner, what else is there? Who will you become? How many people do we inspire and serve? And what are you inventing and will be known for. So Asia may be, the inventor of her restaurant system that has inspired 100,000 restaurants to be successful and create amazing food, build community, and nurture their families in all kinds of different ways. Is the 100,000 the right number? Is it 10,000? Is it 1,000,000? What is a hairy goal for you? This isn't about, what's the biggest number you can think of? I mean, the biggest number I can think of, whatever, is trillions. That's not this. This is what you can think for yourself as a hairy number. Is it $1 million in revenue? Is it $1 million in income? Is it working a day a week? What is a hairy goal for you? So, and if you come up with some ideas and you want to share them, that would be awesome. Asia says, that's what I was writing down, but I couldn't figure out a number. That's why we're together, Asia. Yes, I like the idea of building community for you a lot as a goal, because I think that it has a impact aspect to it. And, Asia is in my mastermind class right now in the Signature Growth System Mastermind. So we're building her system. And I think that the community aspect of what you're doing is critical, because that's what people are going to resonate to, because that's what they want. So if we are saying that we are taking this goal to that number of building, communities, that's powerful. Now, Rick says, I think my mission goals moving forward from here on to personally educate, empower, and equip 1,000 people for life, 50 people per year for 20 years. Okay, so I'm going to challenge you on that, Rick. If you say it's 50 people per year for 20 years, is your goal to create something that's going to remain the same for 20 years? Or is there within that an emergence of some sort? So as you achieve this goal of 50 people per year in 2023, then is the goal that you're going to set for yourself, now that you know that that is possible, the same goal year after year after year. So think about that for a little bit. And we're going to go further with the goal setting. So I'm going to challenge you a lot more, but I want to just make sure that as you're going deeper into this exercise and thinking about what it is that you want and what would be really kind of cool to achieve. I mean, when we see, as consultants, when we see the lights come on, that's powerful. There's nothing like it. When you're working with somebody and boom, 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 and it flashes left and right, and you go, man, these people are now on a trajectory to something. That's powerful. How much of that do you want? Okay, so let's take a look at what other comments you're having in here. Esteban says, second, 2-dimension, family and first in the first cycle. And then at 18 years old, a $1 billion revenue company. Now that is a big, lofty, hairy goal, but a good 1 billion. Okay, excellent. So it will be. Rick says, I'm willing to increase if I am personally successful. I need some KPIs, I guess. Well, that's when you hire me and I'll help you with all of that. But it's never if, Rick. It's always when. Because if you have a condition, when gets your brain shifted into a different execution strategy. If I only could, well, what's that going to depend on? So if we shift that, when can I, or how can I? Now we're looking for a solution. If has no solution. If is a vague excuse at some point in the future. We don't do that. Catherine says, my biggest goal is to work with an inspiring team and bring swimwear to the world that will make every woman feel comfortable, whatever body type they are. The goal is the journey of working with a great team. The outcome is the cherry on top. So Catherine does these absolutely phenomenal swimsuits that I've looked. I mean, just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful design work. The goal is to work with a team and bring swimwear to the world. Okay, I see how you do that. So you are making the team the priority over the outcome. That's interesting. I'll have to think about this for a little bit. The goal is a journey of working with a great team. The outcome is the cherry on top. The goal is the journey of working with a great team. All right, I'm good with that. Because if you say, Catherine, that the goal for you is to be more in a team environment and to have that sort of family that you create, and Catherine is originally from Germany and she lives here in the United States, and to create that family around you to help support you, I'm good with that. And Rick says, okay, agreed. All right, when, not if. Excellent. All right. Do you guys need any more time with this, or are we ready to move on? So if you're ready to move on, say move on. If you need more time, just say more time. But are you all good now with having a big goal that you've set for yourself, where you say, yeah, that makes me slightly uncomfortable, but this is a big, hairy goal? All right, let me know so I can move in, because otherwise I'll move on. So in the next question, I want you to look at what you just did in the previous page on your hairy goal. And now I want you to double it. So if Russell says that he wants to now have multiple exhibits with his work, the show will be able to move worldwide and go global. You said that earlier. That's good. That's a hairy goal. And now I want you to double that, Russell. What would that look like if you will double that? I'm going to give you an example. When I did this about 2 years ago, we were talking to somebody who was in the education business, and Professor Egghead, and he does after-school education, science education for children. And then when we kept doubling these, it went from serving, tens of thousands of families to impacting education, to being in Washington and actively influencing how science education, STEM education, is being brought into schools. So I want you, in your thought process right now of doubling this goal, to think about what would that look like if I could do twice as much as I thought I could? Because if I say I want to impact, let's go back to Asia. So Asia is doing restaurant consulting. And her system that we're developing has 3 very distinct pieces to it. The way it is set up right now, there's a certain amount of time that's available for her to do something. But now, if Asia were to say, screw that, I'm gonna own the United States. I'm gonna be the authority, the go-to authority on how to build a successful restaurant business on these 3 different levels. Now, the business model changes as a result of it. Because the business model right now allows only this much, because it's constricted by itself. But if I move the goalpost into something different, and then I take my if to a when and a how, and if I take it from how do I inspire 10,000 local Los Angeles businesses to being the go-to authority in all of America, now I'm going to have to, when I come to the execution of this, and I reverse engineer the outcome, now I have to think very different. So that's what I want you to think about, is that the constraint of the goal, as it often is said, is based upon your assumption of your current abilities. But how many people, like Elon Musk, does it take to go to Mars? One. Somebody who can think of that idea and then hold on to that idea and reverse engineer the seemingly impossible. So if I give you this lofty, big, fat, hairy goal that you just now are doubling, what does that look like? And if you're coming up with some ideas and you're going bigger, put it in the chat so we can see it, and we can talk about it a little bit, what you come up with. And let me know, is this difficult? Is this scary? Is this easy? Please do share that with me. I want to hear how this is going for you. Because there are many different pieces that go into this. There's the voice from our parents who tell us that we're nuts. There's the voice of those who support us, who go like, yeah, if anybody can do it, you can. Go ahead, go for it. Then there's society. You're going to do what? Like, what all of a sudden is going to make you get from there to there? There's your internal voice. Yeah, right, Beate. Sure. I mean, I'll be happy to I'll be happy to entertain you for that, but I'm not really buying that for myself. So when you step out of the restraints of what we typically work in, or what we think and what we experience, there's resistance immediately. The inner voice. Idiot. Impossible. Seriously? No way. Just push it aside. We're not here to be real. We are not here to prove that 1 and 1 is 2. We're here to say, if time, money, and space and nothing matters, and you can really lay under that tree and dream in the largest possible denomination you can think of, what would that be? Because remember, we said this goal needs to be worthy of you. And how do we make this a worthy goal? You don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to have anybody tell you that you're the authority. I'm already telling you, if you're here, you already are an authority. You already know what you're doing. This is about you taking this business to that very next level and beyond, and setting a series of events into motion that are going to be so lofty and so big that you go, you know what? It all started with that crazy idea I had back then. All right, let's take a look here. Rick says, I'm developing a unique wellness and well-being model for healthy aging, targeting normal people who really don't see the need or have a desire for healthy physical activity. The big question for many is, when you have grandchildren, do you want to play with them, or will they have to play with you because you're not physically well? Could dream of thousands finally seeing the need to be doing something. I like that. I like that. Do you want to play with them, or will they have to play with you? That's actually a really provocative line, Rick. I like that. Because it makes me stop and it makes me think. Is, what's the excuse to not do something that, has such an adverse effect on you? What do you, how do we, pardon me, how do we get people to move forward? I like this. So, normal people who really don't see the need. Well, I think everybody kind of knows that they need to be physically active. It's just, I think people are lazy in general, or they don't know how to prioritize. So there's certainly quite a bit to solve for you. But yes, I think you're on target. Anyone else wants to share what they've come up with? Katrin, the double goal, over the top goal, is to create a product brand that will become a household name. Example, when we need a tissue, we say, I'm getting a Kleenex. Now you're talking, Katrin. Hallelujah. Because that's what the Spanx idea was, is that, she wanted women to be able to wear white pants and not have cellulite or orange skin showing. And then with that, it caught on, and then it became a thing. So why could you not do that with a swimsuit? I mean, is that the model already exists? So that's how you need to think about this, and the same thing with the physical activity. Joe Weider created a whole fitness empire around bodybuilding and men looking good, and then that became kind of like a whole thing. And Pilates did this injury recovery for dancers that then became a whole method and its own thing. These people all said at one point, here, like we are doing today, coming up with something where they're like, wouldn't that be wonderful if I could impact every dancer in the world? If I could make every woman on the beach put that suit on and not be embarrassed or ashamed on how her body looks. I mean, how powerful is that? Why would the world not want that? Anyone else wants to share what they've come up with their double goal, their over the top goal? I like that, the over the top goal. You have no idea, Katrin, what's coming next. Just wait. Because I'm gonna push you out of this comfort zone. But this is exactly where we need to be going. It's like, this isn't about having a team and a couple and selling a couple of suits and making women in Southern California happy. This is a phenomenal design that you came up with. So flattering that every woman must have it. So if every woman must have it, and it becomes a household name, well, then your strategy on how to get there is very different than selling a couple units and building a nice team. Then it is about how quickly can I put the suit on 1 million women that then tell another million women, and become the Spanx of swimwear. Esteban Kama, you have a wonderful idea here. Maybe the doubling is to reach the first goal sooner. Well, did you not got me all figured out? Exactly right. Because now what you had originally said isn't so outrageous. It's like, of course. But you know what we're going to be doing now? We are going to double it again. So now if we go bigger, one more time, and you making now a conscious effort to take that voice, oh, come on, let's keep it real here. You just completely scratch that out. Let's double that goal one more time. What are we talking about now? So is Asia in Washington as a small business consultant for restaurants? Is she now influencing legislation on making sure that the rules for restaurants are not as ridiculous and outrageous as they are right now? What would that look like for Katrin? So now we are all over the globe. We are in absolutely we are now in every single resort on every cruise ship. We are like, like having that suit is now almost like mandatory. Is like, like this crazy injection of the lips and whatever people are doing right now. Is it going to become like an absolute trend to have this? What are you going to do, Russell? Now that your one exhibition that's traveling the world, now we doubled that. What's that look like now? So is that a whole fine art career? Is that selling the work? Is it having sold out limited editions? Esteban says, a super goal for me is to create a model that be able to learn faster than our competitor. I'm not quite sure I understand what that means. So is that like a SaaS model, or is it like a learning model on how you can learn faster, Esteban? So would you mind putting a little bit more detail into that so I understand where you're going with this? And anyone else, Shahira, what would that look like for you with STEM education and your online course? So Katrin says, bigger, add high-end couture to the ready-to-wear line. These masterpieces will be worthy of exhibitions, much like Guopei. Huh. Look at that. Where'd that come from? That's already been there the entire time. But now that we are removing the constraints, this deep desire can surface. Because without the deep desire and the passion, you have no place to go to. Because then you're in the dreadful day-to-day. I want you to have your North Star, your vision, your passion so clearly in front of you that you will take risks and you do things differently in 2023 than you've done before, because you allowing yourself to think at a level that you may not normally do. Stephanie says, educating and empowering educators worldwide, being a worldwide speaker. There you go. And if you think about education, what's the big issue with education right now? Educators are under fire everywhere. They get paid nothing. They're up against the crazy parents. A teacher here in the United States was just shot. That's just nuts. So help educators to keep that fire burning, and that passion to wanting to educate is huge. Why wouldn't you be able to do that? It's needed. So how big is the goal you came up with? Anyone else wants to share? And keep writing, keep adding more things to it. What are you, now that we go back to being 80, what are people going to say? She made millions of women go back to the beach, not hide their bodies, have confidence. That's powerful. Esteban says, learn 20% faster than the market. Okay, so it's a whole system around how people can absorb and learn information fast. I think that's beautiful. And how many people do you want to inspire, Esteban? Is that like changing the way the entire educational system or the learning systems work, or how people learn, or the method in which people learn, or adding another method to how people learn? Team company. Okay. So what happens as you're going through this Go Bigger goal? Would you mind just sharing in a couple of words? Is like, what are you experiencing as you're doubling and doubling and doubling these goals? Does it feel freeing? Is it scary? What are you experiencing? I just keep checking here the chat if you're answering, I know, overwhelming. Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. I feel already behind. Giving up your self-limiting beliefs. Yes. It's really all of this. It's really all of the above. I always call these moments like the oh shit moments, because you go like, what's the difference? What's the difference between me designing the swimsuit and selling it to 10 friends, and me designing the swimsuit and having it be on the cover of Vogue, and women all over the world wanting to wear this because it makes them feel amazing and they can go back to the beach without feeling like crap? What's the difference? It's the thought. So if you have the thought, why wouldn't you pick the bigger thought? It's the same effort. 10 sales, 100 sales, 10,000 sales, 1,000,000 sales. It's the same thinking effort. Catherine says it feels liberating in the moment. Well, that's going to be up to you to keep that vision in front of you, so it's not just liberating in the moment. But if I give you permission, not that you needed this, but sometimes it has to be something so tangible that I was like, I give you permission, Catherine, to do that. Because there are no limitations other than the ones that we put up on ourselves. So then somebody says, yeah, but where are you going to get the money from? I don't know yet. Well, how are you going to build the team? I don't know yet. Because you can't come up with the next step until you've taken the first one. I learned this in a spiritual practice a long time ago. When you go into these mindsets and possibility methods, and somebody says, well, how do I, what do you want? And then you say that, and then say, well, how do you do that? And your answer is, they haven't told me yet. Because the universe hasn't stepped into action yet. So the way the spiritual methods in the universe, universal laws work, is that it delivers what you want and what you are willing to accept. If you are in a situation where you are not happy right now, that's what you're willing to accept. Because if it was so super painful and you didn't want to be there, you would be doing something different. So if a car breaks down and suddenly there's a repair, but you don't have the money, somehow you find the money to pay for the car repair, even though it wasn't there. Isn't it interesting how that works? So these principles are the same principles. It is there for you. You just need to set the goal into motion so that these delivery mechanisms can fall into place. Stephanie says it's exciting, ready to go, and fearful. All right, so let's lean into that fear a little bit. What's the fear telling you, Stephanie? And Katrin says, I agree, that's how it works. Esteban says, the challenge is the pace of the inspiration between you and the rest of the team. As team leaders, we're definitely drivers. Yes. If I don't make what I do look good, we're all screwed. I always say that when you become successful, success comes with an unbelievable amount of responsibility. If you become successful, when you become successful and you don't make this look good, there's no hope for anybody then. But if and when you get to this point of success and you say, I have an unbelievable life. I'm in a beautiful office. I'm in a great relationship. I have a wonderful family. I can go whenever I want to go, wherever I want to go. Money's not an issue. If I own my success and I have true gratitude for where I am at, that is what inspires other people. That's why I do so many podcasts, because I want to share this message so that others hear something and say, if she went through all of that and got out on the other side, I want that. That's our job, is to make lives better. So now that you have this crazy big, super hairy goal, let's start landing the plane. Where are you going to start? Let's take a look at this. So let's stay with the example of Asia. So Asia now is going to be the nationwide authority on restaurant success. What are the pieces now that we need to start to get to that point? Where are we starting this? Are we starting with talking to local legislators and feeling out City Hall and saying, hey, we really need to be doing something? I was actually walking Asia. I was walking through 3rd Street Promenade on Saturday night. We went to see Avatar, and then we walked on 3rd Street Promenade. Man, that is brutal. There were only a couple of restaurants open, were completely packed. But 3rd Street Promenade, I want to say, was probably about more than 50% empty. All the shops, all the shops and restaurants are gone, except a couple. So if you now come in, and this is in relationship to what's happening in the rest of the country, and now you become the authority on restaurant success, where do you need to start to get to that level of recognition? What are the elements of that? So keep thinking about this. Like, where do you start? If you want to make a mark as a business owner or take over a business, then what do you need to do now? Do you need to take leadership classes? Do you need to take additional projects on? What do you need to do to get yourself ready for that moment? That's for all of you. Anyone who wants to be in a leadership, wants to run a team. Maybe it's time for you to start learning on what it takes to run a team and take some leadership courses. I'm a big fan of audio books and of podcasts. I listen excessively to podcasts. There's a podcast on anything. So if you want to be or do something, chances are the information already exists by somebody. I spoke yesterday to somebody who's going to go on my podcast, the Business Growth Architect Show, and she does product development. And So if you're in a service business, she can help you to develop a product based on the services that you have, or have a service and then develop a product, or the other way around. So either a service and then develop a product, have a product, then develop a service offering, which is also a product, right? So it's a maximizing idea. So she comes up with things that we not normally think about. So Asia, let's take a look at what she said. Solidify my system. Yes, we are. That's the urgency. Second step, implement with several different restaurant models to prove my system. Yes. Third step, market and sell the heck out of it. Yes, that's the client attraction system we need to be building. Fourth step, put it in TV to reach a global audience. Boom. How's that feel? That's pretty badass, if you ask me. Who else wants to share? Where are they going to start? Focus. Good plan. Yes. Yeah. It gets so clear. Sometimes the problem is that you're not thinking big enough, and then it can't work. I have this phenomenal example of this woman that I met, at the pitch competition where I met Asia, and she was wearing this overall, and she wanted to do these. She wanted to look for venture capital. She wanted to find venture capital to produce these overalls that she was going to then sell and raise money for the homeless population. When I talked to her, and I didn't get paid for this, that was just a regular uncover session. And I said to her, that just does not sound right. I said, so double this goal. And then she doubled that goal. And then she doubled that goal. And she doubled that goal. And at the end of it, the goal was that she was going to have a place in downtown Los Angeles, work with the LA Mission and other homeless organizations that have identified people that are ready for re-entry in society, that are taking the meds, that are clean, teach them how to sew, and then have them run an entire store of merchandise that is produced and designed by formerly unhoused that are now running a business around, very much like Homeboy Industries. For those of you who are not familiar with that, Homeboy Industries is an organization that started as a bakery that employed people who were formerly incarcerated. So the model already exists. And because of this exercise. And then I heard from her a week later that the LA Mission already told her, we want to give you the money to do this, because she wasn't thinking big enough. So think about this. Is this big enough for you? So Esteban says, we have been preparing the company to scale. We use a frame called Flywheel. Yes, from Jim Collins, to accelerate growth. Very good. Excellent. Just make sure it's big enough. Anybody else? Do you have any questions for me? Do you is any of this unclear? Because we're gonna go and move on to the next level. I just want to make sure. Does everybody on the call now have their big freaking audacious hairy triple goal ready? Is it a yes? Please put it in the chat so I know that you are all participating, because we said we're going to be doing this together. Yes. All right. Yep. Okay. Good. Good. Okay. I have the goal, but not the first step. Yeah. Well, that's going to come next. Okay. So the starting point is always now with this idea in place, how am I going to land this? What do you need to do personally so that you have the education, the knowledge to do what you need to do? We gave the example of leadership classes if you want to lead a team. If you need money, then you need to do a pitch deck and figure out how to get the money and where to get the money from. if you are needing to do something in the fine art industry, or you exhibit, or you do limited editions, you need to learn how the fine art world works, which is a whole different other category of photography, and works by very different rules. So what are the skill sets now that you need to acquire or learn? So with this super simple goal in mind, what is the overall strategy? That's usually where we start. What's the strategy? What are the steps of the strategy? So Asia put that together so quickly and effortlessly. So I'm just going to tell you one more time what she said. She said, solidify my system. We're already working on this. She already has made that decision. Then implement it with different restaurant models to prove concept. Market and sell the heck out of it, and then put it in TV to reach a global audience. And that's a TV show for what she's doing. Very much like, not like restaurant do-overs, but, concept development type things. So let's go back to this one here and say, what is that first action? What are the markers of that goal? So Katrin, for you, it would be, you would need to figure out how to mass produce. You would need to figure out how to distribute. Where are people that are distributing content, distributing products? There's lots of people out there that do that. Then you would need to figure out, where am I going to get the money from? And then who do you need to be to manage all of that? Because usually when you get from one level to that next level, it can get pretty bumpy, because you're going to have to leave this person behind that got you to this point, because you're now initiating that next level. They always say what got you here isn't going to get you there. That's what they mean by that. I cannot lead a global team of 1,000 people with a skill set that I had 20 years ago. I would know a lot more about how the world works. I would have to know more about different cultures. I would not have to know more about what makes people tick. I would have to know more about the dynamics between men and women. I would have to understand, how global dynamics work. So where would I learn that? So that's where, I really encourage you now to look in, what do you need to learn? What are the markers? What's the system? And what are the pieces? So what is the first action? Map out the strategy. What are the pieces of the strategy? What are the systems that you need to design? Like Asia, we have to build her system, because without a system, it's impossible. Because then it's just like a consultant who's doing things a particular way, but that is meaningless. But if the system has a particular name and outcomes, and it's clearly defined, now we have something that we can blow up. So that system could be like Pilates, the Pilates system, right? That now is everywhere. Then you need to look at what you're doing right now and say, where am I wasting my time? Where am I going to have to trim the fat? All right, let's take a look here. So Stephanie says, I have started the consulting business. Good. You already have several clients. Good. We're in the process of implementing an education summit to empower educators on June 3rd. I'm working on creating web-based services. That's good. It's probably not quite enough yet for where you want to go, because I do like the education summit, because you need to reach all these educators, and web-based services. That's a whole other conversation in itself. It's a lot more difficult today to do simply just web-based services. A lot of people want the done with you piece where, I could have recorded this and sent this out, but I don't think that works very well. I think people want that interaction. So think about that on how you do that. Oh, have not had. Okay. Esteban says Meta Learning Frame. It is the WOL. I don't know what that means, how the company learn. Okay. The design and implementation of meta learning. It's the way of how companies learn. Okay, good. All right. Yeah, it sounds to me like you really need to work on their system, Esteban, and really flush that out, what that system is, but not other people's systems, but your spin on the system of the elements that you're using, so that it doesn't sound like you're using somebody else's framework, but you use your own framework. It's a lot more powerful to do it that way. All right, checking in with you again. Anyone else have any questions, feedback, insights? Stephanie says, I prefer a personal relationship with schools, and that's why people use your service. Yes, I can see that too. Yeah, 100%. So now we are going into what can you cut that you're doing right now that is not serving you, where you're absolutely wasting your time. Is it something that you could be doing if somebody pays you for it, but it's a waste of time? It's not where you want to go. It's not aligned with your passion. These are the other pieces that I want you to think about as you are moving forward to this. If this is the person you are, which you said you are, so you're stepping into this, what can you no longer be? Fearful, insecure, suffering from imposter syndrome. None of this has a place where you are going. You're just going to have to own that. What do you need to let go to get to that next level? Put it in the chat. So I'm going to check in with you again. Oh, Pat, no longer the instructor for all, now mentor others to get certified to teach my program. They can do it. Yeah. Yeah. You're going to have to make a commitment, though, to what the thing is that makes you so special, because you can do so many different things. So where are we going to land the plane for you, Pat? Where you now say, I'm going to own this piece. I'm going to be the go-to authority for people needing a career advice, and cherry pick the pieces that you want to do on the high level, and maybe, create a program that other people can run, where you get people at a different level. Maybe you get them in the manager level, and then you only do the director level. Ah, Katrin, thank you. I have to change from working artistically to working strategically. The blessing and the curse of the creative. Don't I know all about that? This is exactly what it requires. It requires to understand that your creativity got you here, but in order to get that creativity in front of other people, you're going to have to be very strategically working. Yeah, that's a pretty big breakthrough. Congratulations. Asia, start cutting out contracts that suck up my time and do not recognize my value. Yeah. I mean, I think for you, Asia, there's a couple of the SBDC stuff that you do where probably the relationships could be massaged in a particular way because it does get you at the table with people that are in the political and economic environment of cities, like Los Angeles. That is definitely a table you need to be at. But why not be the person who runs the round table for restaurants for City Hall, right? I mean, why wouldn't you be doing something like that? So, oh my God, cutting off clients who are not coachable. Hallelujah to that. Esteban says, we run more than 100% projects annually. Maybe we have to start choosing the right one. Yes, not all money is good money when it comes in, because if your cost of running it and the cost could be the cost to you personally, the cost to your business, the overhead, the amount of time and energy that it takes to do this. I have found the less people pay you, the more difficult they are. I mean, is that an amen from everybody here on the call, that people that don't pay you a lot usually are the most difficult clients? Yeah. Asia says, I have a bunch of small contracts that give me very little ROI. Yeah. There is a great visual I do for that is when you park your Toyota, your 2002 Toyota in the parking spot in front of your house or office building. If you want a new car, you're going to have to move that old car out. So you cannot keep the old car and showcase your new car. It's incongruent. So there comes a point where you have to say goodbye to that Toyota so that that parking spot becomes available and you can put that car that you desire in there. And it's like this in business too. There are people that brought you to where you are, but you are not obligated to keep dragging them along forever and ever and ever and ever. It's okay to say, you know what? We had a great run. We got all the way to here. But now we don't need to be to do this anymore. Stephanie says, I decided to let go of my full-time position at the university to allow me to service more people. With that, an accrediting company consulted my services for the same salary by utilizing half of my time. Isn't it beautiful when that happens? That just means that you're at the right time with the right thing. So now how do you blow it out of the water? So now that we've cut the fat, are you clear what you need to add? Like, give me like one example each. What are some of the things that you need to be adding to your repertoire of skill sets? So Catherine always said, learn strategy. That's fantastic. What else do you need to add to your skill set that you don't have, but that you will need at that point? If you're going to lead a team, passionate and talented people, so leadership skills, taking a product from concept to production. Okay, good. Yeah, there you go. I like that. So we need to find you maybe a mentor or something. Yeah. I mean, there are things that you're going to have to learn to get to that next level. Otherwise, you're going to just keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Capabilities, yes. What kind of capabilities, Esteban? Tech. Yeah. Well, no, that's the wild card. Because you will be never ahead of technology. Technology will always, every time you think you've got it figured out, there's another thing coming. And knowledge, yes. So, it sounds to me like, Esteban, like, some networking would be good, like being, really building out your network with other people that are in related vertical markets of yours, to have the type of access to these types of people that bring that related. Yes. Okay. Russell says, need to add a full day each week dedicated specifically to this project, and realize this is my time to do so. Yeah. Yes. Yes, that's exactly right. You're going to have to make the decision that this is what you do. And when you make the decision, the rest becomes simply an execution plan. Because then it's all, how can I? How can I take this product and make it a worldwide thing? How can I take this exhibition and make people all over the world see it? What's my monetization? How do I walk away from this? How do I build a program where I have a coaching and consulting program where I can then have that so clearly defined in its system that I can create a certification program and have a bunch of consultants train other people, which is the EOS model that we see a lot right now. Russell says we're not getting paid yet and we get caught up in the paying jobs. Yeah, I probably would reframe that a little bit. I think that you are being adequately financially supported to put that together. You need a strategy, but you and I were talking anyway. So I think that that's exactly what we need, is to, now that we have this goal, and the timing is really excellent because I think our call is next week, is that we can really talk about now that you're clear what this goal is, what's it going to take? What do we need to do? What's the strategy we need to develop? And now we can make a plan. So that's how this works. So just checking in with everybody. Do you all feel like you're really getting some ideas here on where your blocks have been in the past? And are we removing those blocks? We have not heard from Cameron. So I'm checking in with you. Definitely helping a lot. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's not that difficult, really. It's not that difficult. The idea for you is to always think about, are we selling this? Are we making ourselves obsolete? I have a client, it took me 6 months to take him out of the day-to-day, and now he's making the same amount of money, but he's not doing the work. So it is entirely up to you what that is like. But in order to get there, we had to hire someone. We had to come up with sales scripts. We had to figure out how we were going to train the team. We had to do all these different things. You cannot achieve a new goal by doing what you've done. That's why there's consultants and coaches and experts. I don't know if I'm the right one for you, but there are plenty of people that have the skill set to take you to that next level. And if you cannot do this on your own, then you need to find somebody who kind of can do that for you and with you. And the way we can work together, so if you've now seen something, or you go like, yes, I need to speak to Beate and let's talk about, a plan. I, spoken to, going to speak to Russell. I'm working with Asia, worked with Pat worked with me. So quite a few of you who are on here, we've already had a conversation. But for those of you where we have not had the conversation, is it time to have this conversation now? And then if yes, just reach out. Cameron says the iterative process of goal double, go even bigger, helped unlock the further down the road aspects of my goals and even the start of new ones, almost like a full loop. Yeah, that's the objective. The objective is to say that, especially, and Cameron's very young. I mean, I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean, relatively young, right? Mid-20s. And so for you to get started to think about this from a much larger perspective, other than with my education and what I have learned so far, what can I achieve? That's a different goal setting. The goal setting we are going after is, what can you imagine is possible for you? Because unless you imagine that it is possible for you, it cannot occur. Then we stay in this lower level vibration of accepting circumstance and then arguing with, well, it's not that bad. It's tolerable. It's okay. It's not as bad as it could be. But then who wants that? I think the best part about my life, and I feel unbelievably fortunate to be able to say this, I love what I do. It is that, to me, when I hear from people sometimes years down the road that I've taken a class or course or sold a business or done something, said, yeah, if it wasn't for you and us having had that conversation back then. And they're not always conversations where I made money. Sometimes it's just a conversation that popped something for someone. That's everything, is to be able to make that impact in your sphere, right? If we just focus on that and say, what is it that I want to give to the world? That's the power of these goals. And sometimes, because I come from the creative arts, when I saw Avatar, and my sister said to me, well, my son says it's terrible. The story is kind of like really weak. Well, the story is very weak. But the visuals, I mean, I just sat there for 3 hours and it just so beautiful and so inspiring. And I don't even care if it has a good story or not, because I'm sitting there, I'm inspired that somebody can think of something, of a whole other world, and design it in such wonderful detail that I want to go and touch it with my hand. That's what you're doing. You're designing something that might not have been possible an hour and a half ago, because you now have a vision and now you need to fill in the details. That's what you're here for, is to figure out what that gift is that you have, that you can give to the world in a way that it makes you proud and happy and fulfilled, where you at the end of the day can stand there when you're 80 and say, you know what? It's a pretty good life that I live. I look at, when we created this rebranding last year, I looked a lot at what Ruth Bader Ginsburg did and what was the secret of the longevity of the brand. And if you think about the people that you admire, on whether that's a surfer or whether that's a photographer, whether we think about Helmut Newton, Russell, who I met back in London when he did his first exhibit with his wife, Alice Springs, and he told the story how he came to fashion photography. No matter who your idol is or what you aspire, the model already exists. I mean, in 99.99% cases, the model already exists. You just have to figure out what is the model that applies to what you're trying to do, and then you follow that model. That's why I'm so big with the strategy piece, that the business model has to follow that. So you have to have the strategy, which is where you're going. You have to have the systems, which is how you're going to get there. You have the client attraction system, how you're going to get the people in the pipeline. With these pieces in place, now we can move consistently toward the goal. All right. So is anybody here who wants to share something or wanna come on stage, I guess, and talk about what this process was like? Because there is no sale here. So there's no offer. If you've heard something, you want to talk to me, just go to uncoverysession.com. I'm going to put the link in there in the handout. I have a couple more things. If you want to buy the book, Happy Woman, Happy World, there's a link in there. If you have not taken the quiz, how to remove your number one business growth blocker, you go to growth blocker quiz. And then, of course, there's always our implementation piece, the intentional implementer, but none of this is major. These are just like all kinds of things. Today was all about helping you to get to this next level in your business and in your thinking. So anyone wants to join me and pop up on stage, or you guys are all good? Do you have any questions for me that I can answer? Just raise your hand, because I want to make sure that you really have a clear understanding now of what it is that you need to do to get to your goal. So I'm going to just double and triple check with everybody. You guys all good? Or anybody have any other additional questions? Just checking. I wasn't sure what to expect from this, but this blew me away. But this blew away what I was hoping to get out of it. Thank you so much, Asia. Yeah, I mean, for me, as I'm getting deeper into these master classes and, and think about this from a perspective of what you're doing with your clients, I think a part of what we really need to do is help people to get out of the constraints of their own thinking. And if I put a small spin on something like this, on a goal setting thing, and we're not, and I said, we're not setting smart goals. This is not the objective of this. This is about helping you think in a different direction. Then in order for you to shift somebody's thinking into possibility, because the objective for consultants is that they hire you, right? So we first have to open that. That brain option, whether you're selling something, on whether you are, you want to bring people in, whatever it is. You have to think about that their brain is wired in a particular way. So unless you flip that, change that, make adjustments, they can't step out of that. So we first have to yank them out of that in order to open that for the new information to kind of come in. Esteban says how important it is to share this vision with our advisory board. I love that. Yes, map it out. That's what a visionary is, Esteban. Somebody who can share his or her vision. Exactly. That's your job. You're the boss, the leader that says, this way, everybody. Russell says, so insightful as always. Thank you so much. Rick says, it's helped me think a different direction, identify and remove a few self-constraints. I am sure I'll discover more as I move on. Yeah, I'm absolutely positive you will be. And, again, don't let the rubber band snap you back, because the rubber band is going to kick in about an hour and say, yeah, well, that was all nice, but let's get real here. So you got to keep that voice under control, because that voice is designed to keep you where you are. We are not staying where we are. You were here for a reason. Honor that. So other than that, I mean, any other questions, or you guys are good? Thank you so much for the feedback. I appreciate that. And I will have the replay available for you. So we're going to get that edited and sent out pretty quickly. Yes. Use the guide, print it out, map it out, and share this with your teams as appropriate, and really make this real. This is not an exercise you did. This is a life change you just did. Oh, you're welcome, Cameron. Catherine, always great to see you. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. I admire you. I adore you. Thank you for being here. We do master classes every single month. So you go to yourbusinessmc.com and sign up. We have an option where you can sign up for all of the master classes. But once a month, I'm doing a complimentary masterclass. Stephanie says, thank you. I really needed this. You're more than welcome. Go out, spread the world, and be fabulous. Thank you so much for being here. This is Beate, the Growth Architect, and goodbye.